Good evening.
Good evening, Terry.
It's so nice to meet you again, Noel Eastwood. um, um, I don't even know. We've tried this so many times, I can't even think where to start.
So we can start at the beginning.
All right, at the
It's a good
beginning,
place.
how did you get involved in astrology?
Oh, blimey. Always been interested for as long as I can remember, grabbing books from the library. When I could afford to buy books of my own when I was working, I'd go out to New Age shops and purchase any books I could. And, tried to make up my own charts, which, of course, they're not the same as the computer ones these days, doing them by hand from a book. And then a friend of mine introduced me to Chris Turner, and I studied formally with her back in the mid-1980s. And then when I finished there, I moved down the south coast to the country and started practicing. So it was.
I'm just curious, did every single astrologer in Australia train with Chris Turner? Because so far, everyone I've talked to did. She has her own lineage.
She does, yeah. Well, as you know, Chris, she's one of a kind. She's just a beautiful person, but she's tough. We worked hard, I tell you. Doing calculations by hand back in those days, before computers, before the program software came out, before the internet. You got one mistake in your calculations, which would be pages and pages of calculations.
Yes.
Yeah, and of course then you had to go and redo the chart again, and I don't know how many trees I had to knock down to get more paper. It was hard. Of course, when computers came along, I was one of the first to to grab some software and start getting the computer to do the work for me.
Yes, I was very grateful when computers came out, because the math totally scared me off. But most of the prominent schools do still make you learn hand calculation, so the structure of the chart. So.
Yep. I think that's a great idea, because knowing just the foundational structure of the chart, that how those angles are calculated, the aspects, because astrology is just maths, really. We look at it's just geometry, and the universe runs on numbers according to physics. So astrology, it's all numbers. What we have done.
You don't still hand calculate, obviously. You said you use a computer. Do you ever hand draw a chart? Have you ever done that since the days?
Yes. When I started practicing earlier in the 90s, I had a pro forma, like a photocopy of a chart, and I'd draw it all up and get out my colored pencils and ruler and do it by hand. But these days I do readings on the internet. I don't do face-to-face readings anymore.
How did you get into your practice of astrology? Did you start right out seeing clients?
Yes. Down the south coast, I advertised in the local paper, and I saw people. At that time, I was also teaching Tai Chi and meditation, and then I had my own clinical hypnotherapy practice and psychotherapy practice, and I could combine astrology with that, which was magic. That was doing magic. That really was great.
Gorgeous.
That's where I learned about the archetypes.
Give me an example that can be completely anonymous of a way in which those two merge together.
Well, the first person I did, she came to me because she was sick of dying. So when I say that, she had severe asthma, and her asthma attacks were so severe that she would literally die and have to go to hospital. And she had 2 small children, and she wanted that to stop. So we did a little bit of regression in therapy, and it turns out that when she was little, her parents were always on the point of splitting, and she would have an asthma attack, which brought the family back together again.
Oh.
But it became a habit. Like, you know, it would happen all the time whenever things got serious for her. So I thought, okay, well, look, been studying this form of therapy that let's go and meet the sun. So, you know, close your eyes, breathing in and out, going deeper and deeper. And so she met the sun, and he was a black man in Africa, dressed in a lion skin like a toga.
Whoa.
And he sat with her, and he explained the situation. Basically, it was he that told her, and then she went, "Oh my God." But at the end of the meditation, when she was, you know, after we'd finished the therapy session, as she was walking out the door, she was still in shock at how powerful this was. And she said to me, she said, "Noel, the sun told me to tell you that you're doing the right thing." It's like, what the hell?
I've
So
got goosebumps.
that was mind blowing. And so that was the start of my psychotherapy using the archetypes. And since then, I use the sun and the moon. Like I saw a client yesterday, and same thing. You know, the two pillars in astrology are the two luminaries. They don't always play a major part, and sometimes the sun is just plays a major role. But in psychotherapy, you can close your eyes and go and meet these archetypes. You know, you can meet Saturn, Venus, Sagittarius, Capricorn. But it's the sun and the moon that are they're like the two guardians, the two pillars that hold your psyche together. And they will tell you things. They will rarely ever interfere with your therapy. In fact, they will enhance it. So I can take someone into, you know, into that trance state and take them to the sun. So I'll give you another example. Was a young lady that was in such a state that she couldn't shower, she couldn't see water. I think cows, you know, there were certain phobias that she had that were, you know, really impacted severely on her life. And so you know, these are tough people, that are the tough situations that these people are in. So I took her to the sun and the moon, and the sun took her to his home, and in his home was a big swimming pool. And he said, "Walk into the pool, walk into the water." And she's like, "No." He said, "Oh, you
Nope.
know, I'll walk in with you." And so she went in, sat in the bottom of the pool, and you know, by doing this herself at home, she could start having showers again. She could look at water on, you know, scenes on TV. Another phobia she had was heights. So even a set of stairs were scary for her, and he
Wow.
had her sit her on the edge of the cliff where he lived, you know, high up in the mountains somewhere beautiful. And she just sat there. And it's almost like a surrogate therapist for me that I can call upon
It's like you
when I
have two
need.
existence. So I'm sure
Yes.
where the sun was placed in her chart had something to do with how that sun showed up for her. Like the African sun with the lion, he had to be a Leo sun.
Mm. Had to be Leo. Well, interestingly enough, this young lady was a Leo. She has Capricorn you know, Leo like I am, Capricorn ascendant like I have. So, you know, we certainly shared a lot of traits, but just a beautiful soul that uh, things clicked, and, you know, her life transformed just incredibly. And working in trance with the chart gives you a shortcut of months and months and months and months of beating around the bush in therapy. In fact, you know, I can just do ordinary, boring psychology, you know, which I've done, but you're not gonna get to the soul of it unless take you use the little tricks that I've learned over, you know, in my lifetime. And astrology is it's way up there.
The best trick.
It's magic, because you look at the chart, and the moment that you see conflict, you know, that's where that person is stuck. That's where they spend most of their time working, trying to resolve, because the conflict is very black and white in the chart. Nice and simple for me to see, because I've looked at charts every day for 30 years and worked with people in conflict, in internal conflict and external conflict for that time. So, you know, I would gather data from every person I saw, grab their, and ask them for their birth data, and surprisingly, people don't mind giving it to me. You know, us astrologers are always asking people for their birth data, and people
And they
are
don't know
interested.
what we can do with it, so they just hand it over.
That's right. They don't realize that you see their soul. And you know, when I do readings for people that I know, I'm really reluctant these days to
Mhm.
read for someone that I know, because I'm going to see things that really I'm not entitled to see. If someone comes for a reading, that's a different story. It's they want to know, but you know, the fun ones are like, yeah, I'm a bit shy with that these days.
This just sounds like a very Jungian approach that you took to your psychotherapy patients. And there's a lot of rumors about what Jung did and didn't say, but he did say that was a shortcut to the soul, didn't he? Or that the chart was a much faster way to get a therapeutic client
Mm.
opened.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, yeah. I studied a lot of Jung and a lot of psychotherapy. Yeah, I'm a psychologist, so you know, the tools that they give you at university are like a pen and a toothbrush. You know, like you can't go out and do therapy with that. You need rock solid tools. Seriously, CBT has its place, but the clients that psychologists see today are really, on the most part, seriously, uh, I use the word dysregulated, because you know, part of my background is biofeedback, brainwave biofeedback, and dysregulation is a word I use all the time. So you know, we're seeing people that are very much stuck, and you know, you need to be able to dig under the surface and develop, you know, find tools at work. And university, I remember a lecturer telling the class, I think probably in my first year or my second year, that you're not really going to learn about therapy until you leave university and start looking elsewhere. And I thought that was interesting, because isn't that what I'm here for?
Yeah.
And she was absolutely right. And she was a Jungian psychologist herself, and her presentation was on Jung. And yeah, she's absolutely right. I was also very fortunate that when I started my astrology career, um, was around the time that I started learning clinical hypnotherapy and psychotherapy, and I was mentored by a Jungian psychotherapist. They're not psychologists; it's a little bit different. And so he taught me not to be afraid to go into the unconscious. You know, just people cry. It's all right. You can sit with someone and they'll cry. That's fine. People cry. And you know, don't be afraid to walk them in where you know the scary lions and demons are. And so that just gave me the confidence to work with people, eyes closed, and let's go back to the trauma. With you know, there's ways of working with trauma in therapy that make it easy. And you know, it was through his knowledge and mentoring that I was able to do that.
Well, in what
So
way did your psychology inform your practice of astrology then? Was it completely mutual?
oh, absolutely. But without psychology, I wouldn't be looking for the things that I look for. So as an astrologer, you're a little bit more upbeat, you're a little bit more positive. You're looking for the positives in the chart. You're looking for, you know, significators for success, for instance. And whereas as a therapist, I'm looking for where the trauma, you know, where's the sticky bit, you know, when you get a little thing on your fingernail and you catch it in your clothes and you go to bed and you catch it. That's what I'm looking for in the chart. I'm looking for the conflict. And so that was the difference between what I was doing before psychotherapy and after, is what I'm looking for in the chart. I was also a teacher, you know, way back then, and I was working uh, in special ed, special education, and then in infants primary, and then I went back to university and became a psychologist. So then I went back to the education system as a school counsellor. So I'm working with people with children with ADD, ADHD, oppositional defiant disorder, conduct disorder, learning difficulties. So now I have a select group of people that I could gather charts for. And then that's when I started doing my research on ADD, ADHD, etc. And that's where I found where all the sticky bits were. You know, I would get out those charts day in, day out and put it together. And
Without the
then,
knowledge of the parents, of course.
no, that's where I got the information
Oh,
from.
it was. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they had the birth. I just asked them, you know, do astrology. I'd be interested to look at the chart and da da
Oh,
da. They were happy.
wonderful.
Yeah, and so that's where the patterns form, and that's what we, as astrologers, we do. We look for patterns. You know, as humans, we're always looking for patterns.
I,
You know, we
are
are
you
the
sure you're
masters of
retired?
patterns.
Because I need to make some referrals to you. Quite a
I'm a long
few.
way away across the waters.
They'll stay up late or get up early.
Well, I do readings for people all around the world. You know,
So you do
Norway.
Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot from America. A few in Australia, but yeah, Europe, America,
I'm definitely sending somebody to
India.
you.
Yeah.
Your talk is Psychological Astrology of Success. How do you look for success in the astrology chart?
Well, as part of the research that I've done on people's charts, again, these are people that have similar patterns to the other groups that I'm looking at. So I'm going to sort of jump ahead a little bit and talk about the elements in astrology. And for the elements, you know, I'm super grateful for all my teachers in astrology that pointed out that the elements are actually pretty darn important. Steve Arroyo's book on the 4 elements, I think Liz Green and Howard Says Portis wrote a lot about that, and I'm sure there's a whole heap that I haven't mentioned. But the elements form like the borders in astrology, that they give you the foundations that you can then create. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. You find the straight lines and the corners and you put them in, and then you've got the border done, and then you can start putting the patterns together. And that's what the elements do. So I look at the astrology chart and I'm immediately looking for the dominant element, because the dominant element is how that person functions in the world. And, you know, we all have probably at least 2 dominant elements. Like in my chart, I've got fire and water with a bit of earth, thank goodness. So in success, you're looking at the dominance of fire and air with a bit of earth to stabilize it, because air and fire, they're pushing, they're always reaching out, and they're annoying and they're irritable, but they're very cerebral, and they're creative. Doesn't mean that they're better at anything really. It's just that they're
more
like a shark.
assertive. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas the earth gives that stability, and in the charts of successful people, you have to be careful, because there's successful bad people, and there's a hell of a lot of them out there, and we see them on our TV all the time. And you've got successful people that are genuinely nice people. And the psychopath group, which I've done an awesome amount of work on, because in my practice here in psychology, I meet a lot of victims of psychopaths, workplace psychopaths. So there's the nasty ones that dominate and control, and they get a great kick out of hurting people. They can't wait to get out of bed and go to work, because they're going to hurt someone. They're going to make someone's life a misery, and that's the joy in their life. And that chart is slightly different. But interestingly, you know, that moving forward and getting into the world and controlling your destiny is in the chart. And the individual chart will tell you how they actually do that. What is the process they take? So if someone is dominated by water, they're going to be super sensitive, and they need a bit of earth there to stabilize that. You know, when they get hit by emotion, they can sink it and anchor it in the soil. You know, they can take it down and channel that, and then that'll be the energy that moves them forward. When you add air to that combination, now you've got the ability to intellectually process what actually happened, and then I can direct it to different places in the soil to fertilize it. When you add the fire, then you've got creativity and imagination, and the fire part is also a very strong connection with people, because we can't be successful without people. Mm-hmm. And selling ourselves is part of is what fire does. With the so with a strong fire, you got a few characteristics there that just make it a little bit easier for the person to be successful in creativity and imagination, keywords for
and connecting,
fire,
and getting attention for what they create, which is not easy.
Which is not easy. And of course, you know, the fire people are also hyperactive, so they'll get knocked down, but they keep coming back, and that's that so air true. And fire thing.
I have to confess that I adore Leos. I collect Leos. I'm always like, oh, are you a Leo? And I literally have a collection of them. I guess I don't have very much fire, but they're like the cheerleaders in my life. I love them. All my best friends are Leos.
Yeah, we're pretty cool people.
But they are hyperactive as all get out.
Yeah, we can't, and we like attention. Like, if you want a Leo to come and purr next to you, just flatter them. That's easy.
Well, I always say I'm a very passive little Pisces in many ways, and I would never get up on the table and dance, but I am so happy to applaud anyone who will.
Well, I've got an awful lot of water in me, so it's uncommon for me to get to the point where I'll dance on tables, but
it's in there somewhere. I know it is somewhere.
I certainly like recognition, that's for sure. So, you know, if you want to upset a Leo, just ignore them. You know, they're like insignificant. No, not insignificant. Me, no, I'm not insignificant. We like meaning. If we don't have meaningfulness in our lives, then we are shattered. Or, you know, if you criticize a Leo or a fire sign, that's cuts to the core. The other signs can handle it much better.
Sagittarius too, yes, and Aries, although they react completely differently.
They'll come out and.
Well, I love this. I loved archetypes. I taught archetypes for the school that's sponsoring this for IAA for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, and I adored teaching the class. I just thought it was just wonderful stuff, and really so much room for creativity in it, even though it's core humanity, you know. So it sounds like this is going to be a fabulous lecture. And let me say again, it's the Psychological Astrology of Success is how you titled it.
Well, we could change that title. It's a bit of a mouthful, you know. When I sent it off to Chris, and she said, "Oh, that title probably needs to be changed."
Well, it could be the Astrology of Psychological Success.
Well, yeah. That's interesting, actually, Terry, because psychological success is a little bit different to success in the marketplace, because psychological success means that you're able to remain calm in stressful situations, whereas a lot of people that are successful in business throw tantrums all the time. They're not calm at all.
The trick is to feel successful, not to be successful.
Yeah. So, you know, I'll be looking at you know, that Earth. Earth is it's an interesting element that in terms of success, because it gives you it levels out the playing field. So the fire sign wants to grab the ball and just run and knock people over. The air sign wants strategy. Okay, we kick the ball over there, then we run, and then we pass the ball over to there. You know, they like that strategic part.
And we have to write it all down and talk about it for a long time.
Exactly. That's the air thing, is that is the intellect. The fire thing is just a raw grunt, you know, grab the ball, grunt, 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 knock people over.
Well, what does Earth do then?
Well, the Earth gives the resilience and the resources. So the key words of Earth are, you know, hard work, discipline, self-control, resilience, resourcefulness. They're you know, they got the big bull neck and the big beefy body, and so they're quite happy to do the hard work to allow the Leo side to run, and to allow the intellect to develop the strategy, so that the foundation of Earth is critical. And the water,
well, has no interest in sports whatsoever.
They have no interest. They're absolutely right. They're not interested. They're interested in the family nature of the team. So
very
you know,
good.
the water person gets the ball, and there's no one in front of them. All they got to do is run and fall over the line, and they've scored the goal. But they're like, oh, but what about my friends? You know, oh, look here, you have the ball. You know, their mind is not on the game. Their mind is on nurturing,
relating,
and relating. Yes, yeah, it's it's a nice analogy, isn't it?
Well, the cancers anyway. The Pisces are going to wander off and, you know, look at the flowers on the side of the...
That's right. So when the whistle blows, they sit down and start picking the daisies and look at the sunlight glittering
okay,
off
wait,
the
now what does the Scorpio do? This is the tricky one.
Oh, the Scorpio was mulling over that, you know, the hurt that person did to them there. And the last time I played, that one poked me in the eye. So, you know,
so relationships, but not necessarily in a good way.
Well, Scorpio people are interesting people. You know,
They really are.
I've got, you know, my stellium, sun, moon, and, you know, 6 planets in the 8th house, and most of them are conjunct the moon. Conjunct Pluto. So I'm very Scorpionic. So
in fact, your website name is Pluto, something to do with Pluto.
Cave.
Pluto's Cave. Yes, I forgot that.
Yeah, the cave is the metaphor for going inside, you know, into the inner world, which is all my therapy is close your eyes, let's get in there. You know, and meditation and Tai Chi and astral travel and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, I've got Sun, Mars, Venus, and Jupiter hanging down a little bit. They're all conjunct Pluto in the 8th house, and Moon, and they're in Leo. And then there's Moon and Mercury conjunct in the 8th house as well with the others in Virgo. So thank goodness I got a little bit of intellect hanging in there, because the only planet in air that I have in my chart is Neptune in Libra. So I'm not real bright, but, you know, give me a job to do and I'll do it with a little bit of flair and a little bit of effort.
You sound pretty bright to me. All right, everyone, I hope you'll join me, because I am definitely going to be at this lecture, Psychological Astrology of Success, on November 6th. It's at 10 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. and that is Eastern Standard Time. All of the talks are Eastern Standard Time. And this is Noel Eastwood. So look him up, sign up, and I think this one's going to be a fun ride.
Well, I hope so. I like it that I can bounce things with the participants, so they can ask me lots and lots of questions, and we usually run overtime. And, you know,
well, you don't even have to, because we have the forum, and you can meet your participants and have a chat with them afterwards, kind of like, you know, overtime with those talk shows and things where you get to go backstage. Yeah.
Good chats with you.
Yeah, you can bring your own drinks and, you know, hang out. And really, we've got to all learn to love each other in pixels until we can conquer this pandemic. So might as well practice.
Right. Absolutely right.
I can't wait to see you again on the 6th. And thank you for sharing your wisdom and experience and the nature of your talk with us.
My pleasure, Terry. I'm looking forward to it so much. It'll be great fun.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.